Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
You're locked on to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, let's get it, folks. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is a Tuesday. The college basketball season has officially come to an end. Yes, it is that sad time of the year when you know that college football is over, the NFL is over, and now college football is over. But that's all right. We still have the NBA, at least for a few more games with the Utah Jazz. You still have NBA playoffs. You'll still have Mammoth playoffs coming up here. Knock on wood. We're pretty safe in saying that, don't you think, Lloyd? We can say that with some level of certainty.
I don't want to be the guy that
jinxing it?
jinxes it, but yes, I feel like
it
would take a colossal.
Oh, look at you putting it out there.
Yeah, it would. I know. I shouldn't even do that. I feel bad.
No, it's my fault. I did it.
You put me in this direction.
I know.
But like they're there.
They're there.
They're in the driver's seat for the top wild card spot.
Now we're going to get this out of our system right now because Bill Armstrong's going to join us at 2:00. And make no mistake, we will not talk like this in front of Bill Armstrong because Bill will reach through the mic and strangle both of us. And
he will drop kick us next time he sees us.
So just know that when Bill comes on here in about 2 hours from now, we will not be talking like this, but we will. But I think now we can say, you know what, we feel pretty good about where the Mammoth are at, and we're just a couple of weeks away from getting that playoff run started with the Utah Mammoth. It is Masters Week, which means Brian Taylor will join us coming up here in just about 25 minutes from now, live from Augusta. Hello, friends. A tradition unlike any other. Kurt Heelan will join us for his weekly conversation. We'll chat with him coming up at 1:05, and, of course, we mentioned Bill Armstrong at 2. So, look, I love college basketball. I really do. I love everything about it. I love what it, the excitement that it has. I love the sport. I really do. But there are some times when college basketball can be a little rough to watch. And there were long stretches last night in which that game was not particularly easy on the eyes. Good game, relatively close game. Uconn just kind of hung in there as long as they could up against a much better Michigan team. But it wasn't, look, if you're
They should have won by 10. Just say they should have won by 10.
If you're a college basketball hater, you had a little bit of ammunition last night. Yeah, you're right. They should have won by 10. Easily.
I'm sitting there watching that because as we discussed, we had a little burrito wager on this because I thought, I'm like, Michigan's they're gonna roll.
Yeah.
It's not even gonna be close. And there, sure enough, close enough.
Yeah. Sorry about that. All right, so let's catch up with the man himself. Tim LaComb joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Am I being a little too hard, Coach, on that game last night? Because it was tough to watch there in the second half for stretches.
Well, if you mean the 11 for 48 combined from three, which means 37 missed threes in that game. A ton of foul shots for Michigan, which that's never fun to watch. But all kind of part of the domination, I think, that Michigan, they did not shoot the ball well, but their defense, as always, was really imposing and caused tons of issues to a really dynamic, creative Uconn offense. So I felt like, the size and physicality of Michigan carried the day. And you're right, sometimes the size and physicality piece is not the best to watch.
Tim LaComb, kind enough to hang out with us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Just how special is this Michigan team, not just with the win last night, but the run through the tournament, especially with what they did against Arizona?
Well, so 37-3 overall. I mean, that is staggering in and of itself. They had 29 double-digit wins this season, and all five five straight double-digit wins in the tournament. That is absolutely crushing teams. And I'll tell you what, Scotty, what got my attention was the holiday tournament when They faced Gonzaga, and they beat Gonzaga by. I mean, I had to rub my eyes a couple of times because I've seen Gonzaga do that to plenty of teams, but they beat Gonzaga by 40, and I was like, man, something's going on there. I've had the opportunity to know Dusty May since we were both young coaches, and actually hung out at the Final Four with him a few times. He was actually on Kerry Rupp's staff at Louisiana Tech with Cody Feger. And so, it's funny, man. You get into college coaching, and it's like that Kevin Bacon deal. You're not very many layers removed. But happy for him. First tournament team or first championship team to ever win it with starting five transfers. I think that's the sign of things to come. And then the other piece, which really I think stamps it, Scotty, is they had the number one strength of schedule and the number one power rating. And so I think they were hiding in plain sight as champions the whole year.
Wait a minute. Whoa. So Dusty May was on a staff with Cody Fuger on Kerry Rupp's staff at Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
And the funny thing is, Dusty, like Cody introduced me to him, and you first impressions, right? And I actually kind of value first impressions. I think they're important, but I also have been told by my wife that I take them a little too seriously and maybe a slight bit judgmental in my first go around. But honestly, when Dusty walked up, like my first instinct was, why is Cody hanging with that guy? I mean, just kind of seemed like a happy-go-lucky, dorky dude. And the funny thing is he is who he is. And through the years, got to know him, and he's just a guy that has picked up so much information along the way and been smart enough to write it down and have a plan. But yeah, man, it's crazy to think Dusty May, that dude, walked up to me in like the jeans and a T-shirt. I can't remember what city we were in at the Final Four, but we hung out for sure, and I'm really happy for him.
You know what's interesting too is when you look at Kerry Rupp, and I know this is like this is going down a rabbit hole. When Doug Gottlieb had to sit out that game, and I saw that Kerry Rupp was filling in as the head coach, I was like, there's where Kerry's at. He's hanging out with Doug Gottlieb in Green Bay of all places. So yeah, that guy's put together quite a resume.
Yeah, I first met Kerry when I was frantically running around East High School my first day on the job with Rick Majerus. And I'd never been to East High School in my life. Kerry was the coach. He was not real helpful at the time because the coach had his ear. And coach was like, we walked into the gym. He's like, where's all the chairs? Like I was supposed to know. And I was literally on a rampage running through this halls at East to find enough chairs for Majerus' pals to watch practice.
Wow. All right, so the way that Dusty built that team, it's a transfer portal super team. They were big, they were strong, they were athletic. They didn't shoot the three ball well last night, but overall in the season, they were a good 3-point shooting team. What do you take from that what do you take from that other coaches are going to probably try to steal? Is there anything that they could replicate and take, and maybe that's a trend we see going forward?
I think what Dusty really did, I think last year a lot of people hit the market with an open checkbook and really got enamored by simply, the physical tools and the skill and the size. But what I think Dusty did, and I think what more teams will try to replicate, is to literally put a roster together that's cohesive. He did a great job of almost the one man's trash is another man's treasure when you look across that roster. And certainly guys that had played at a high level, but more importantly, I think he picked high character dudes that could give a little of themselves to the group. So I think it's going to be far more than, we saw Kentucky last year go put together a team that was talked about in the summertime, like look, it was going to be a Lamborghini. And I think a lot of thought went into just the skill side and the imposing physical side, but there's so much more to building the team. And so I think that's more than anything in the era of a new team every year. That's one component coaches are going to really try to figure out how to put a team together that's more cohesive.
So how do you, when you're working through the transfer portal, how do you identify putting together pieces that will be cohesive together? Is that I can't imagine that's easy to do on the fly.
No, it's not easy, but I think you have to get, like anything, like when you're doing research for a project or you're doing a market study to perhaps drop a new product. You know, you got to get around the person, and you got to get around the people that know the person, and you've got to be able to dig in. So if that's a teammate that you can get on the phone, or an assistant coach that doesn't have an agenda, a high school coach, you want to try to avoid too much, propaganda from people too close. So you got to find people who tell you the truth. But honestly, coaches really do a good job for the most part of passing along, their experience to the next coach, because I think altruistically, the kid is really, they're the one trying to navigate the stream, and the way that the world works now is one leaves and another one comes. So I think the more you can be amenable to that and actually give some positive information. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not something you can Google. I think sometimes reading mindset and heart is really the differentiator between teams that can figure it out and teams that really struggle.
So now that the tournament's in the rearview mirror, we've seen, BYU got in, they lost. Utah State was able to win a game before they got bounced in the tournament. What can you take from the local teams, BYU and Utah State, in their hopes of trying to have a little bit more success in the tournament next year?
Well, the cool part for both is, in BYU's case, I think KY's got a plan in place, and it seems to be really working well. To be able to flip BYU from what it has always been to, be able to go attract one or two of the high-level guys every year and be able to compensate them as such. And so for them now, it's just going to be figuring out how to work around that player and build a team, again, a cohesive team that will play together. That doesn't overlap. That's another piece. You can never have enough shooting, but there's other things that perhaps overlap that at the end of the day, it may be better for team cohesion to take maybe less of something and really lean into certain guys. So I think BYU's got a blueprint, a plan. They're well funded, and I think BYU's thing can just continue to march on as they tweak. I have all the respect in the world for Kevin Young. I think to come in and do what he's done in 2 years, the proof's in the pudding. 2 years, 2 really good years in the Big 12, 2 tournaments. Last year, Sweet 16, so he's off to a good start. And then at Utah State, man, it's been done, and it's been done. The thing that's encouraging is it's been done by so many guys, and you can attest to how different each and every guy is, in the way that they approach things. So it's not a tried and true way in Logan. I honestly believe there's something really special about the community and the way they support. And you can get on a roll up there. So what I think they've done is actually laid the groundwork now for a guy who can be there for several years, as long as Ben wants to be. I think he could be there. And then instead of having to go out and then be at the mercy, perhaps you get on a little trail here where you hire one of his guys. And I do know in talking to him back in the day, and then, knowing around, he's very close to TJ Otzelberger. He's very close, to that family and the Missouri Valley people. And so I think that he's a guy who can build something, but also set something up for the future, like he did at Northern Iowa. And I think that's really the neat part about this hire for Utah State.
Mason Falslev, Carson Templin back at Utah State. They make those announcements, Carson over the weekend and Mason Falslev yesterday, just to have the continuity of 2 of your best players from last year's team returning. How important that is to kick that off the Ben Jacobson era?
Well, how many fist pumps did you do, first of all, when you heard that?
I got a good 3 Tiger Woods fist pumps in, yeah. Good.
Were they all straight, or did they wobble?
No, it was a downward motion. Yeah, yep.
Okay, perfect. Not because right now he'd deviate perhaps in what.
Yeah, a little bit. I know. Yeah, no. This is sober Tiger fist pump. Yeah.
In fact, I heard it. I'm going to tell you a funny one I heard this week. Was the difference between a golf ball,
jeez,
and a Range Rover.
What?
Tiger Woods can drive a ball 300 yards without hitting a tree. Okay.
No. So, Lloyd, is that a car? Well, no, never mind. That's okay. That may not be the best sound effect to play right there.
And honestly, not making light of who, of what he did, but a certain point. Come on, man, let's go.
Yeah, I know. Come on, figure it out.
But you, I forgot even the question you asked me because I was so into my joke.
Mason and Carson back for another final year.
Yeah, and I've got two nicknames for them: the Madman and the Mayor.
Yeah,
and I think the Madman and the Mayor are back. I just love when Templin gets those crazy eyes and his hair's kind of standing up with static.
Yep.
And Mason, to get him back is just so big for Ben to be able to have that juice. I mean, Mason was, I know this for a fact, I had tons of people calling me. Mason was a wanted man. And so for them to be able to lock him down speaks volumes for the AD up there, I think, first and foremost, to understand what's going on, be on top of it. And then, I liked Ben when in his presser, he just said, I want to hang with these guys. He made it pretty clear early on that he wanted to make sure that there was a relationship and that before a decision had to be made.
Mason was recruited by Tim Duryea and Craig Smith, ended up signing with Larry Kraskowiak, and I think Ryland and Chris Jones probably had a lot to do with that as well. Larry gets let go. So then he comes back off his mission, signs with Utah State and Ryan Odom, red shirts with Odom, plays with Sprinkle, 2 years with Calhoun, and now will finish his career with Ben Jacobson. Just how hard is that on a player?
Well, most players, it would be really hard, but and you know this kid well, and I know him well. I just think nothing phases this guy. Like he's old school tough. He's like ranch hand tough. And I think obviously he's affected by things, but perfect example, I came up to call a game with you this year, the Fresno game, and I think it might have been one of his tougher games all year long. And we were walking out, and I said, man, how you doing? And he's like, I was horrible tonight, I'll tell you that much. I mean, he just flat out said it, where other guys would maybe be fishing for you to tell them they weren't so bad. And I just love his way. And so for Ben to hit the ground with a guy like that who's been through all that and still wants to be there, man, that shows a ton of grit, resolve, and it should pay dividends for next year.
But also, and I said this about A.J. DeBonta at BYU, like A.J. chose BYU. Make no mistake, he liked what he saw, and he chose BYU. But that decision is never made if BYU isn't in the same stratosphere when it comes to financial resources. So while he did choose BYU, BYU's not in the conversation if they're not at least competing financially. Same thing with Mason Falslev. Look, I guarantee Mason left money on the table to stay at Utah State, but I don't know if he left a ton of money on the table because Utah State was committed, and they've got some donors up there that said, hey, we need to run this thing back, and I think that says a lot about the commitment Utah State's made.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the part that I'm most impressed with, and it's why they keep winning. People ask why. I mean, there's a reason that schools get on a hot streak and roll, and most of it has to do with the permanent fixtures there. We give a ton of credit to coaches that come and go, and every coach has certainly played a major factor. But there is something magic about that valley when it comes to basketball, and I can say that because I had the great experience and awful experience at the same time to go up there and compete and try to take a game from there. And you feel it. It means something to people. And you go into a supermarket and you have the wrong shirt on, and they're going to tell you about it too. So it's one of the hidden gems, honestly, in college basketball. And it's why I had probably over a 3-week period, probably had 15 phone calls from coaches across the country of all levels asking me what's going to happen in Logan.
If you are looking at, if you're Kevin Young, and not necessarily players, but skill sets, knowing the 5-star freshman coming in next year, what are you trying to build in terms of skill set for next year's team?
I think, what BYU's done in a quick hurry is really acclimated to some good positional size. And I think that in the Big 12, I think you got to have that. I think they could have shot the ball better this year. I think their three-point shooting was planning. They're planning to have Dawson Baker, who's a clutch three-point shot maker, and certainly Richie Saunders was part of the plan. And so as options fell off the table, I think that's one thing you're learning. You can never have enough shooting. And it's why a guy like Trevin Nell for years, found a play onto the court and got better defensively each and every year. But they needed him out there because he was so deadly shooting the ball. And so I think BYU will probably lean into that, the way the three-point shot is used, except for last night, 11 for 48. Yeah. In college basketball, it's certainly a big piece of how you can separate yourself. And then I think from there, I think they've done just a great job. I think they've got physical guys. I think Cave has been great at the 5. Maybe a more serviceable offensive big that you can count on to get baskets. I mean, last night Michigan basically won that game in the paint. Yeah, scored 36 points in the paint. And Uconn did a nice job of keeping the game closer because of the offensive rebounds. They were quick. And, Michigan's big. With Uconn beat into some balls, and they actually took more shots than Michigan did last night. So at the end of the day, though, it was size that ruled today. And I think that's what BYU will continue to do, is lean into positional size that has skill and can shoot.
The one thing that's really hard, and I feel for Alex Jensen, and you know Alex really well, and I've gotten to know him really well over the last few years, is that once you kind of get stuck in the cycle in this day and age of college basketball, it's tough to pull yourself out of, because if you don't have a great year, then you're going to lose a lot of guys in the portal, and then you've got to rebuild a team over and over and over again until you start winning, and then you're able to hold on to guys a little bit better. But it's tough to get out of that cycle if you're where you're at, where Utah's at in their college basketball program right now.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's kind of like when I was talking about Logan. Since Majerus left, really, I was there with Ray Giacoletti right afterwards, and the whole crowd thing started to kind of become an issue then, and it's just dwindled over time. And again, I think for a long time they didn't even have to think about basketball. There wasn't a ton of resources allocated. They sold out, the Huntsman Center, and things were great. But they've got a huge issue right now, and it's far less to do with the coaches. I think there needs to be a long look. I think the president needs to take a long look at like the decay of the athletic department over the last few years, and it certainly, football's withstood it because that's where a lot of the money's going and a bunch of the booster interest. And certainly gymnastics and skiing are always going to be good. But from there on out, I have a hard time recognizing Utah athletics from, when it was so important in my life. So I think there has to be some major changes taken, before Alex can even really have a huge impact. There has to be some serious talks about, are we going to really try to change things, or are we just going to sit here and act as though we are, and continue to fire coaches and say it's their fault?
Yeah, because I know Larry Kraskowiak's a great coach. I know Craig Smith's a great coach. I know Alex Jensen's a great coach. If none of those three cannot make it work consistently at Utah, it's not a coaching problem.
Yeah, you're 100% right. So the irony is the thing that makes Utah State constantly competitive and in the game is kind of what's holding Utah out of it. I think it's just it's the hustle factor. I've said this before, but I watch stuff closely, social media, and how teams market. I was blown away after I went from Utah to BYU in terms of the effort given to get people to games and have them have a good time when they're there. I was there when they put in the Institute of the Sheet Drop. And our good friend Barrett Perry was at Utah, and he said when he saw that sheet drop, because we did it at Utah the first time against Utah at our place. And he said, when I saw that sheet drop, I went and wanted to tell Boylan, let's just pack the dog. This thing's over. We got no chance. But again, the only sheet dropping at Utah is the curtains covering the seats. They've got to find a way to do their job. That's what the job of an athletic department is.
Hey, Coach, you're the best, man. We appreciate it. Let's talk again here very soon. Thanks for your time.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, and you have a wonderful Tuesday.
Yeah, you too. There he is. Tim LaComb right here on The Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Remember, check out University of Utah Health. Go to uofuhealth.org for more information. It is a Jazz Ticket Tuesday, which means we're giving away Jazz tickets. Caller number 12 right now. It's really simple, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, and you'll win a pair of tickets to see the Jazz and the Grizzlies, the final home game of the season. Coming up on April 10th, 7:30. If you want those tickets, be caller number 12. Again, 801-575-ZONE. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's go get us some pimento cheese sandwich and hang out with Brian Taylor.
This 2026 Masters Update live from Augusta is brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
D, you never get tired of this trip, do you?
No. I guess I suppose if I do, that I shouldn't come anymore because it's that special, right? So,
yeah. I know every time you do a good job of not like rubbing our noses in it, but if I were you, I would be flexing every time I walk on that golf course because that is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's I don't know. Over the years, I've just gained such an appreciation. I think back on those first years that Bob and his family brought me out here and had a chance to just hang out with Billy Casper. We weren't even media credentialed, and they had, Billy had me be his caddy just to get me in the doors. And so I would just hang out with the fam, and we would sit under the umbrellas out behind the clubhouse and have lunch, and his whole family was there, grandkids and kids. I mean, just this whole scene, right? And just seeing the love that all of the patrons gave to Billy as a past champion. It was a neat thing because this obviously Billy won 2 U.S. Opens, right, and loves the U.S. Open and at iconic golf courses, at Olympic Club and Winged Foot. But the way that the Masters and Augusta National honors their past champions, it's just you could just tell that it was such a great feeling of appreciation and success that he enjoyed when he came back here every year. And it's just one little, actually it's a big part, but it's a part of what the experience is out here. And so as I've gotten older, I just appreciate it. That's the biggest thing. I'm just appreciative.
Well, there's no doubt. And it's such a cool course, but you've played it. I know they have the media lottery, so I know you've been able to play it. You've obviously caddied. How difficult is it to walk that course? Like just from a physically taxing standpoint, there's courses out here. I live by Bountiful Ridge, and you'll never catch me walking that course. So just from a up and down and wear and tear on the body, what's that course like?
Yeah, I can tell you, I played, I was 5 years younger when I caddied than I was when I played, and it was a lot easier to walk 5 years older than it was to carry that bag. So
I bet.
It was. I remember it was when Billy played and I caddied. It was a rainy. We started on the second nine because of the rain delay. They went split tees, which is unusual. Maybe only one other time I can remember them doing that. And so our 17th hole was 8, and I'll tell you what, that climb up 8 is it's significant. You don't realize how uphill that is from the tee. You kind of go down, and then there's a crosswalk, and then you start back up, and it was. I remember feeling like, okay, I'm not in as good a shape as I thought I was for a 30-year-old. But yeah, it's it is a good walk, and that was one of the things that we'd always talk about with Tiger. It's like it's not that Tiger can't swing; it's that Tiger couldn't walk, and right, especially around this place. And he always wanted to be here, but this one represents probably the most difficult, not only from a walk standpoint, but just the lie, the stance. There's really no flat part on this golf course, and so you're always in some sort of you have to tweak your body in some manner. And for guys like him, I mean, for him, because it's pretty unique for with his injuries, it's difficult. It's a difficult physical challenge out here.
Had the events of last week not happened, would you have anticipated Tiger playing this week?
I think he was going to give it a go. I didn't have any expectations, but I did sound like he was going to give it a go. I don't know. I mean, I heard somebody say he's the king of comebacks, and that's true, right? But man, that would be something if he could, just felt like he was in such a tough spot physically. I didn't know how he was going to do it, but we've always marveled at Tiger and what he can and can't do out here.
Yeah. How much is he on people's minds out there right now, considering some of the struggles he's going through?
The question's been asked a lot of the players in media interviews today, and most of them have just offered their love and support, as contemporaries. But most of them have kind of said, this is probably not, the time to really sit and talk through it. We're all kind of focused on this and it being the first major, but we all wish him the best and hope he's able to come back. And so, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much been the sentiment, as you would expect. I mean, what are you really going to say, right?
Exactly.
So it's, nobody likes to see that. I mean, the body cam videos it's just, it's obviously, it's got to be embarrassing to him. It's, all of those things, but hope, again, like we talked about last week as it was kind of going down, it's just, you just hope that he gets himself right so that, not only from a golf, put golf aside, just from a life standpoint, that he can, have a future.
All right. On a much lighter note, Lloyd and I got into an argument yesterday because he is all about Jason Day's wardrobe. I think that's horrible. Where do you stand on Jason Day?
Well, I mean, of course they, put out the video or the picture of him and looked like what was that, like your Easter morning PJs onesie or something?
Yep.
Wasn't sure what he was doing with that. Yeah. But I don't think I'm going to see him showing up to, I mean, Augusta's. I haven't seen him yet. Did he actually wear it on the course? Have you seen him on the course, or just
unless that was a good
photo?
Unless that was a good AI photo, it looked like he was wearing it out there. But again, I can't trust anything I see online these days.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen him in person this week. I just saw that photo of it, kind of the promo photo, and the bird suit or whatever, right? And I was like, now let me say this: when Jason started wearing the Malvin gear, I was just like, what are we doing here? I can't handle my eye on this stuff. I'll admit, I'm pretty down on the Malvin stuff. I bought 3 or 4 shirts.
Wow.
They are of the conservative variety, I would say, given the Malvin stuff. And here's the thing, right? These guys, I watched the story on them, and these guys are designers, and designers are eccentric. And so they are looking for a little bit of, shock and awe, if you will. They're looking a little change it up, to get people's attention, trying to break norms and all of those types of things. So I don't think that I wouldn't think they're trying to sell that outfit to the majority of the golf masses, but I think it's just hey, take notice, and then people are going to their website saying, what is this all about? And then, oh, by the way, that shirt looks pretty cool. So that's got to be something along those lines. But good for him. I mean, you got to have some confidence to do that.
Hey, you know what? And if the check's clear, you wear whatever anybody wants you to wear. That's all that really matters.
It's kind of like the locker room walk, right? For the NBA guys. This is sort of during practice rounds. This is their locker room walk.
Yeah. Hey, is there any changes or alterations to the course this year?
A little bit of length on 17 is really it. Everything else is pretty much the same golf course wise.
I know this goes without saying. Is Scotty still everybody's guy going into this thing in terms of favorites?
You know what? He comes up here in his interview in half an hour, and I'm excited to go in and listen to him because I'll be honest with you, for being the world number one, he is probably coming in with the least amount of fanfare that he has experienced since, he kind of burst onto the scene a few years ago. And I think he loves that, by the way, which, we hardly talked about Scotty. And yet, look, he's been off for a couple weeks. They just had a new baby. He's battled poor first round starts a few weeks in a row. But let's not forget, he started out blitzing the field at the American Express in the desert. I mean, we're talking about wire to wire domination, in 30 under, whatever. And so when you see that he's capable of doing that, knowing how good he is in difficult situations. I mean, he's still second in scoring average. He's first in birdie average. He's second in putting average. He's 10th in greens in regulation. He's still the number one player in the world. He's got a win, a third, a fourth, a 12th, and 2 more top 25 so far on the season. And we're all talking about what's wrong with Scotty Scheffler. I mean, if anybody else had that resume coming in here, we'd be like, wow, this guy is the can't miss pick this week. And so I like to look at numbers. I like to look at trends. And you say, okay, look, he's played in 6 Masters. He won in 2022. He won in 2024. It's now 2026. Maybe he gets that every other year thing going. And incidentally, if he were to go on and win, it would be the fewest starts to 3 wins. Tiger, Jack, and Arnold Palmer all did it in their 8th attempt. So this would be a pretty historic thing if Scotty was able to go out and pick up a 3rd green jacket this week.
So you got the Masters dinner coming up tonight. I do not know what the menu is, but I love this quote from Rory McIlroy. Was asked about what was on the menu, and he said, people keep asking why I didn't go more Irish. I said, because I want to enjoy the meal as well. So I don't see a lot of Irish food apparently on the menu tonight because even Rory's not a fan.
Yeah, look, Scotty, I think, by the way, that was the biggest laughter all day in the media center or the interview room. But look, this menu is top notch. Maybe one of the best that I can remember. I mean, we're talking about
let's go.
peach and ricotta flatbread. Okay, just think of that for a minute. Like, that sounds unbelievable. Okay, that's an appetizer, and then they've got some elk sliders. Not really my thing, but then he's got these bacon-wrapped dates with goat cheese and some other stuff. Now, people are getting hung up on that. I got a different take on it, Scotty. Think about it. Dates are sweet. Yep. Then you got the bacon and the goat cheese. So if you've ever had a burger with bacon jam, you're basically making the bacon jam in your mouth while you eat that appetizer, right? I'll bet that's unbelievable.
I'm 1,000% on board with that. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Because some people will say they kind of look sideways at that whole idea. Then he's got a salmon. He's got a vegetarian, I think, and then he's got this this Wagyu filet that looks amazing. And then all the trimmings, right? The Brussels and the whole thing. It sounds amazing. And then you add in for dessert sticky toffee pudding. Now, I don't know if you've ever had sticky toffee pudding. That's not really a thing we did in Cassia County growing up. But when I was in Scotland last year, every little restaurant, little like mom and pop restaurant we went to, desserts weren't really the thing over there. I mean, we're way more hooked on sugar over here in America than they are in Europe. But they had this sticky toffee pudding. I'm like, okay, tell me, what is this sticky toffee pudding? They're like, oh, it's homemade. It's lovely. You'd love it. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. It was incredible. It was the only thing I could even say that was worth eating when I was over there as far as the sweets go. And so, I'm high on this one. I'll bet this would be a heck of a dinner. Hats off to Rory. That'll be a good one.
Nice. Well, hey, BT, we appreciate it, man. Enjoy your time out there, as I know you will. We look forward to catching up with you throughout the week. Do a tremendous job, as always. Tell Bob hi, and we'll chat again here very soon.
You got it. And I'm going to send you and Lloyd a recipe for sticky toffee pudding, and you guys can knock yourselves out.
I will. You know what? If you do that, send it over now. I will have that made by the end of the week.
Yes,
for
please.
Sure. Okay. All right. I'll get it sent over to you.
There he is. Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, what you may have missed coming up next, including some contract details on Mike Malone, the new head coach at North Carolina. Not only did North Carolina shock everybody by hiring Mike Malone, they may have shocked everybody by what they're paying Mike Malone. Yeesh. We'll talk about that next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Mike Malone is now officially the head coach at North Carolina. And how about this, Lloyd? He is now the second highest paid coach in all of college basketball. A 6-year contract, so not even a 5-year contract. 6-year contract that will pay him $8.3 million per year. That is second only to Kansas Bill Self in terms of payment per year. So Mike Malone may have won himself an NBA title. He did that with Jokic and then got fired and is now transitioned nicely into North Carolina where...
But he's a proven winner at the college level, right?
Oh, yeah. Nope. That, he's never done that before. So, yeah, I'm sure that will be just an easy, seamless transition for him. Going to the college game. People don't look. There's a lot of people that just naturally assume you can go from the NBA to college and you'll be fine. That is not the case. Ask Alex Jensen. Ask Kevin Young. These guys and it's not like they didn't know that it was going to be difficult, but it is a much different, much more difficult game to coach. And college kids are much harder to coach than NBA guys, simply because it takes a while for them to figure out what you need to do. NBA guys have been around for a long time. They can adapt. They know the system. They got a high basketball IQ. Sometimes that's not the strong suit with a lot of college kids. So you got to coach a lot harder. You have to coach every single solitary possession. Just because you went over a couple things and shoot around doesn't mean the guys are going to remember that. When an 18-year-old gets an inbound with 15 seconds left and doesn't know he needs to hold the ball and take the foul instead of trying to get a pass that gets intercepted, and then you give up a three-point shot and lose the game in the right to go to the Final Four. So, yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a bit of an uglier situation. It's an uglier game, and it takes a different kind of coach. So just don't assume that it's going to be all roses for North Carolina. In fact, I give it 3 years. Because it's a 6-year contract, they'll let him coach 3 years. But I think he'll be fired after 3. Lloyd, if I go over under 3 years, where are you going on that? In fact, I'll go 2.5 years. I think Lloyd's on the phone. Matt, what do you think?
Go with the question again. Sorry, a little distracted.
Mike Malone, head coach at North Carolina.
Yes. Fired
over under 2.5 years.
Oh, under.
Under. I think you're right.
Yeah.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.